Hey there! I was contacted by a fine gentleman through Fountain Pen Network, and he said he wanted to send me a pen, and that pen was a Pelikan Pelikano. And he said, I know you already have one, but this is an older model than what you have, and I think this one's nicer. And I have to say, I would agree. So, thanks a lot for sending me this pen, I really appreciate it. But bear in mind, while watching this review, that this is a pen that is no longer for sale. Right? So you can no longer buy this. At least not in shops, probably. You have to go to eBay or some place like that. The pen came in this box, and I'm going to open this up. My gracious donator was actually kind enough to supply it with a converter as well, because there was one of these standard international long cartridges that came with it. And here's the actual pen. So I'm going to cover the parts of the pen. I'll tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and then do a writing sample. Okay, let's start with the very top of the pen, the Finial. As you can see, it has the cute pelican on it, Pelikan's logo. Now we have a clip. The clip is plastic and it says Pelikano. Then you have a chrome nib, and it was even stickered, and that it has an L on there. It has an L nib, which as far as I know stands for left-handed. However, me being a righty, I had no problems with using this pen. We have the barrel. The barrel, I think, is quite fascinating because it is see-through. It has this texture, but on one spot it's completely smooth. Now, I can come up with two reasons of why that might be the case. One is that would be a very nice see-through bit because it's clearer, it's easier to see through, so you can see how much ink is left in the pen. But what I find, to be honest, a more logical explanation is that these are, picking up the box again, Schulfüller, so school fountain pens. And I can imagine that for younger children, what they might do is put a sticker with your name on this smooth bit, so that there's no confusion about which pen goes to which kid. Okay, now you may immediately think, oh, clear plastic barrel, zing, eyedropper. Well, there are two holes in the bottom which you would have to plug first. I assume they are made so that the pen doesn't draw a vacuum or something, but maybe it's for the molding process, I don't know. But in any case, would you want to convert it, then you would have to do some hole plugging. The clip, I'm not going to be too aggressive with that because it is plastic and I'm pretty sure I can snap this off with one smooth motion. So I'm going to be careful. The cap just pops off and it posts pretty nicely and deeply. Which is a good thing, makes for a comfortable grip. The section has a little bit of texture to it, as you can see there, which makes for a nice grip. Then you have this simple nib, a little bit, I would say, Lamy Safari-esque, but a simple, decent nib does the job. No breather hole, and then a decent feed. So I had no problems with that. You can unscrew the barrel. Out comes the little standard Pelikan converter, which, as I said, the person who sent me this pen was kind enough to donate to, because I'm sure this pen doesn't come with a converter. Very simple, but an official Pelikan converter does the job. Okay, what do I like about this pen? What do I not like about this pen? Well, I like the looks. I mean, yes, obviously it's a school pen, it's a pen for children, it's not the biggest pen in the world, but it's fairly comfortable. This is a nice knockabout pen that you could take with you and that you shouldn't have to worry about losing or something, even though it is an older model, but you know what I mean. It's not a super expensive pen. I like that. I personally like the color scheme. The green with the chrome highlight, for me that works pretty well. The nib, I can only say, is decent. It's not terribly scratchy, which I remember from my school days. We had very scratchy fountain pens. So that is nice that they have produced a nib that's actually very pleasant to use. Is it the smoothest ever? No, but it's definitely not terrible. So I like that. Things I don't like about it. Well, there is definitely a plasticky feel to it, but the pen is made of plastic, so that's kind of to be expected. But it doesn't feel like the most high-end, robust pen. It feels like I could actually crack this if I squeeze it hard enough. But as I said, I don't think it's terrible overall. And for me, what is a big thing in this pen is the nib. First of all, I like the nib setting a lot. As you can see, it's sort of half sunk into the section, which I like. I think it's a pretty cool looking feature. I like the overall looks, and yeah, it's nice, small, light. I think it's pretty interesting. Now, I'm sure that some of you are interested. This is the modern Pelikano, which shares some features. You also have this plastic clip, although it doesn't really seem to do much on the newer model. You do have a see-through ink window, which I think is very cool for a pen in this caliber. And what I find fascinating is they definitely reused that section and nib bit. You see that? They have added stuff over it for the newer model, but this end seems to be from the same mold, which is quite nice. In all, I would say that the modern Pelikano, this one, looks a bit more childish than the older model. This looks like a somewhat more serious pen. This is very playful in its design. So, there you have it. Let's take a couple of measurements. As to size, capped, the pen is 134 millimeters. Uncapped, it is 125 millimeters. Section diameter at the narrowest point is about 10, and at the widest point it's about 12. Made for children, you know, motor skills still in development. Finally, let's take a weight measurement. The reason I stoop over like this is that my scale is on the floor. Inked up, I have 18 grams, which is fairly light, but not as light as you may expect. I think the chrome cap adds a bit of weight there. And there you have it. So, we need to see this pen in action. That's what we're going to do next. I hope this was useful, and I'll see you later. Okay guys, so here we go with the Pelikano left-handed nib, and this is Hero Blue Black. That ink was also provided to me by the gentleman who sent me this pen. Pretty fascinating little bottle. And the fascinating thing about this ink is that it may not be the most spectacular color ever invented, but it's quite waterproof, which makes me wonder whether it may be an iron gall ink, considering the color as well. Okay, the paper is Clairefontaine. Writing is smooth, no issues. No skipping when you write quickly, so that's all very good. I'm quite impressed by this. Okay, now wetness is a little hard to assess because this Hero ink dries pretty quickly, but I have the feeling this is not a super dry pen, it just has fairly normal flow. Okay, now as to line variation, as you can see, it's a simple steel nib, but you can actually get a little bit of line variation out there. Now for those of you who enjoy reverse writing, you'll be pleased to know that this pen does that very well and gives you just a little bit of a finer line than you do with the nib correct side up. So there you have it. You hear, especially when you apply more pressure, that there is some feedback. You also see some paper tissue being scraped off, but under normal writing I find it a fairly nice and smooth nib. So thanks a lot for sending me this pen as well as the cool ink. There is some interesting waterproofness, I would say. As you can see, the writing pretty much just stays as it is, which is very, very cool. So, I hope this was useful, guys, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.